So hi all, welcome back to Boothy'S Beer and Banter, the best bits, sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Firstly, can I thank everybody who joined me on the nights and also to everybody who watched on our YouTube channel. Hopefully you enjoyed the sessions just as much as I did hosting them. If you missed them or didn't get a chance to tune in, we've just put together some of the best bits from each episode for you to enjoy. Thanks again to all my guests, all the ex-players. It was brilliant to see everybody and everybody who worked behind the scenes. You've made it so special to me and everybody over the last few months. Enjoy. I look forward to seeing you all in August. This is my favourite story. If you had to do the 100-metre challenge again, would you be better prepared? Come on, if you've got to tell us what a story that is.
Well, I wouldn't take Ewan and Jacko with me. That's the first thing I wouldn't do. I might have a chance of winning. I mean, you all know the story. I actually,
if you tell us, because I love it.
Okay, I'll try and whittle it down. So obviously, it was the Rumbelow sprint. Back in the day, I was reasonably quick. Qualified for the final at Wembley. Takes place just before the Carling Cup final between Forest and somebody. Can't remember who it was. It was a good Forest team at the day. Brian Clough and all that era. But we're doing the 100-metre sprint in Boots the day before, just an hour before kickoff. Now we check into this. I say we, me, Ewan, and bloody Jacko check in. Every other person is there with the wife, or the partner, or the mum and dad. So straight away, I think this isn't right. My missus, bless her, she wasn't well. She was pregnant, and she stayed home. Ewan and Jacko didn't take a moment to say, "We'll turn up. We'll just turn up, just some moral support." So I went, "Yeah, that's fine." The night before, I swear, all of them, they had a bite to eat, tucked up in bed, 9 o'clock. I was planning to do the same. Knock on the door, Jacko and Ewan, come on, I think you need just to relax before the big occasion tomorrow. We'll just have a couple of drinks. Nah, I want to do it properly. Yeah, no, you'll do it properly. We'll have you back in bed, 10 o'clock. No problem, just for a quick hour. This is central London. Well, if you remember the scene from Mike Bassett, you know, where he takes his shirt off and he's dancing on the table. That was me at 2 o'clock in the morning in some bar in central London. Not exactly ideal preparation, I guarantee you not. So turn up on the day of the final. I'm in shocking state. I'm in a shocking state. By the way, Jacko's now imploring me that I've got to win, because the players have put the players' pool money on me. So not only has he dragged me out, he's dictates that we've got to win. Everyone's banking on us. Don't let us down. Don't let us down. You might have told me that 12 hours ago, Jacko. Anyway, so I get to the final. I'm still feeling shocking. Now, this is a true story, I swear. They said to us all, as we're lining up, we're going to say, "On your marks, get set, go." And we'll do it like that. Everything's really tight for the TV and all that. Everything's got to go straight away. I swear, I'm the only one doing a crowd start. I think I'm in the Olympics, don't I? I'm doing a crowd start. I would have got my starting blocks if I'd found them. But anyway, I sat there doing a crowd start. Everyone stood up. They shout, "On your marks." And I'm waiting for him to say set. And he goes, "On your marks, bang, go." The gun goes off. I'm like still in my haunches. Everyone else is 40 metres down the track. I'm not lying, you, and am I? That's exactly how it was. 40 metres down the track. I thought I had to walk off or just keep going.
You got beat by a postman,
It's true.
All right, you got beat by a postman, and he finished, and you were still in the blocks. You know these sprinters. They go to be a bang, even if didn't even hear the bang. And to be fair, I've got to defend myself and Jacko here, because Helen, If's wife, couldn't go because she was poorly. He begged me and Jacko to go, because I think it was only the second time he'd ever been to London, and he was in his pants. So me and Jacko said, "Yeah, okay, if we'll go, we'll come with you, we'll look after you, we'll make sure you're well prepared." And he was well prepared, believe you me.
Wow, that's a different take on the story. I'm going to leave it at that.
He lost us a small fortune, because we'd saved up all this money from from doing the players' bar. We did our own bar and everything, and we had a good few £100, and he lost it us all. He lost it us all, mate, and we will never forgive him. That's why Jacko didn't play him in that Wembley final at thingy. Jacko told me.
Could I just say, on the Monday, that was the longest drive into training I've ever had. I drove in. I wanted to ring in sick. I knew the dog's load of abuse I was going to get. And I just thought, as I'm driving there, I'm trying to go as slow as possible. I'm thinking, just get this over with. I just need to. Nothing about training. Nothing about the game. We put out a game on Tuesday. Didn't even enter my head. I'm just thinking, I've got to get through training. I remember walking through. They all give me the flipping. They all played the fifth, didn't they? Vow of silence. Not a word from them when I walked in. Every single one of them just turned their back on me. I think they had an effigy of me burning up in the dressing room.
Your most unprintable Neil Warnock story.
So maybe not as professional as it should be. But it's a little bit outside of the football realm. But I used to live, I don't know if everyone on this Zoom remembers, there were 3 players, Kevin Lampkin, Mark Wells and Richard Ward. And I lodged with them for about 4 months. And I nearly became an alcoholic.
Is that behind where the old church used to be, Dunny?
Yes.
I remember that.
It was a tip. We lived there for a couple of months. Then we moved to Kieran O'Regan's got a place out at New Mill. So we ended up in a really nice abode. But yeah, that first couple of months where we lived down the main road in Huddersfield, behind the church. And one night we'd gone out. We were given a couple of days off after a reserve game, I think it was. And there was no game for us on a Saturday at the weekend. And we've gone out with the boys, me, Wardy, Kev Lampkin, Mark Wells. They won't mind me saying they're a little bit scally-ish. I'm from York. I'm not quite as scally-ish as that, but hey, when in Rome. So we've gone out for a night out, had a few drinks, and somehow we've ended up, lost. We're walking around Huddersfield in the very early hours, and this car just pulled up alongside us, and we've all looked across. That some psycho. We thought some psycho was actually following us from the pub, and it's double backed, flashed its lights. We've had another little look. Anyway, he's driven past us again, pulled the window down, just looked out the window and gone, "I'll see you lads in training tomorrow now. No day off for you lot." And it was Neil Warnock. What he was, I mean, if you're a professional footballer, the last thing you want is your manager to see you staggering home from a night out and basically just saying, "That's you lot, you're in training tomorrow." So we were at 9 o'clock the next morning. We all had to report for training. He didn't turn up, did he? We were there on our own. No one, the doors were locked, everything. So we literally didn't sleep all night, panicking what he's going to do to us. He just didn't turn up. Brilliant.
Who was the biggest wind-up whilst you were at town? Who was the biggest character in the dressing room while you were at town? Jenks, I'll start with you.
Biggest character? We had some good characters. Well, if you're looking for absolutely craziness, bonkers, as Paige uses, would be Bully, without a shadow. Absolutely nuts. You know, I used to drive, when I lived in Home Firth, when I first come up, I lived in Home Firth, rented a place out there. So I used to drive in with Bully every day. His wife always used to drive us in. She'd never allow him to drive the car on his own because she knows she might not see him for about 3 days. So she used to pick him up and drop him everywhere. But he was nuts. But in terms of funny people, John Dyson was funny. He was quick. He was very, very sharp-witted, very, very funny guy. And I got a lot of time for John, especially, you know, when I first went there, he was probably my first real connection with a teammate. He looked after me, he showed me around. He's a great, great guy. Sinbad as well, he's another funny one. Quick-witted. We had characters like that. Jock, Andy Morrison again, nuts. Absolute nuts on the pitch and off it, but loads of great characters. I And like Paige said, he had a great team spirit. And when I first went there as well, as the team spirit, as you know, Boothy with Jetbo, people like that, you know, fantastic football men, old school, but absolutely brilliant times. Good to be around.
We had some great times, didn't we? Really did in that change room. Everybody knows how busy Bully is, so that doesn't come to a surprise. You mentioned Bully. Paige, he doesn't have to be at Huddersfield. Is there any characters that we might know that you've played with? Even though Luke Beckett's got to be one of them.
Yeah, Luke Beckett. In the time I was at Huddersfield, he was a character. You know, I loved him a bit. So I used to travel, and me and my Murph used to meet in Wortley, and we'd take it in turns of driving in. And he had this big people carrier. He used to call it the Fun Bus, and it was a sky blue people carrier, like nine people in it for all the kids he had. And we'd get there, he'd be scraping the ice off the inside of the windscreen. It was that old, this car. But he didn't care about anything, like, not materialistic, one iota. He was brilliant. I loved him to bits. And every now and again, I still bump into him in Sheffield. Yeah, the characters like Paddy Kenny was probably one of the worst at Sheffield United. You know, you'd go training and you'd come back and find the old one where you get deep eat in your boxer shorts, and you wouldn't realise until you were 20 minutes into your journey home and things start getting warm. Rob Kozluk at Sheffield United. Rob Kozluk, he'd super glue your shoes to the floor. I remember one day he brought in a rocket firework. It was massive. And Neil Warnock was still on the training pitch doing some shooting with the strikers. And he put this rocket down, tilted it, lit it, and it shot off 100 miles an hour and exploded above Neil Warnock's head. And everybody was in stitches. He's probably one of the funniest ones. But going back to town, it was Luke Beckett. He used to love all the players, Boothy, didn't they? They hated those ice baths. And we had one of the jet ones, didn't we, in the changing room. And you'd have to do hot and cold. He's the only person I knew loved doing it. He used to stay in for longer than needed. He just bombed.
Can you remember his day out? He used to take kids, didn't he? His day out were going for the coffee in Meadowhall, sitting there, just in a coffee shop, and then taking kids home on it. That's what his day wanted.
Yeah.
Coffee back. It might cost him £4, might it?
And after lunch, and if you go into Meadowhall, he'll be doing exactly the same thing with the kids. I'm telling you, he won't change. He's brilliant.
Well, going back to Kozlok, super glowing trainers down. Well, I can remember we were playing Bristol Rovers. It was before you, Jenks. We were under Neil Warnock. We were playing Bristol Rovers and we lost 2-0, and we got murdered. And so we've come back into the dressing room, and Warnock's absolute giving us a rollicking. You know what he's like, and it were full barrels. And all this time, Paul Reed and Lee Duxbury, who were like evil, they were like menaces, and they were just giggling. I think we've lost this. Warnock, what's Warnock? Oh, he sees him, he'll have a right go at him. Well, Warnock. So Warnock had gone, and then so we're all getting changed, and then he comes back again, and I'm trying to. I've got my tracksuit on and my trainers, getting my trainers on, and I've realised my bloody trainers are stuck to tiles. So they stuck to tiles. I've had to get a standing knife and a scalpel, cut round the tiles. So I'm walking with half tile. Warnock's come back and give us a rollicking, and I've got 2 tiles stuck to my feet in changing rooms. And that's what I like back then, wasn't it? The player, we had some good times, didn't we? We really did have some good fun.
What did you think about the commercial efforts in relation to Young Guns and the calendar?
Still getting flashbacks now. Yeah, it was what it was. You know, we were more than happy to help the club and promote the club, push the club, and that was the thing at the time, wasn't it? To do, and like I say, we're more than happy to help. And I think, you know, players now probably got a little bit more say in what they do. I think at the time we were young and eager and would do anything. And like I say, we've got roped into the Young Guns calendar. Have you got one?
It's a good job they didn't
I would never answer that question in a public forum.
That would all right. The young guns won, but I think about 2 years later.
The naked one.
The naked one. Have you got that one, Andy? That's what we'd be more worried about. Seeing Wavers naked is not a pretty sight, and I don't think
I didn't get picked, mate. I didn't get picked.
Clarke, you were December, weren't you, Clarke?
Yeah, me and Tom December. Yeah, it was again, like you say, you just go along, don't you, and hope that it helps the club and promotes the club in the right way. Whether it did or not, I still get sent the odd image from a friend of mine who I don't know why he's still got it. So I've got to question that probably. But yeah, it's again, you just go along with the club and want to help. And
you were talking about pre-season, and you mentioned Stan's pre-seasons. What about Jacko taking us to Ibiza on a pre-season tour to Ibiza? I could understand at the end of the season. There must have been some stuff that went on over there. Can you spill the beans on anything?
It was like red rag to a bull. You took 20 lads to Ibiza. But the thing is, we didn't go to like some lovely little village in Ibiza to train. Went to San Antonio. It's like, we're in a hotel in the middle of San Antonio. But we can't do anything. We can't drink. We can't do anything. And we didn't. We had one night. We had to be in at 12 o'clock. Whichever we had to say, apart from a couple of people, everybody did. But it was absolutely crazy. Well, I took it as a little mini holiday. I just got married, come back from Mexico, then worked really hard to get me wedding weight and everything else off for pre-season. So we go, and I've got myself a Lilo. I've got myself a mint chocolate chip ice cream, and I'm just dangling across in the pool. And I see Jacko walk past me with Taff just looking and go, oh my God. Because I'd only just signed, he don't know me for a week. And that's it. And I'm floating around the pool with a mint chocolate chip ice cream on my Lilo. And then for these two lads, again, Boothy loves this one. For the two lads that did break the rules that night, I'm not going to name them.
Go on, name them.
We had a punishment. We had a punishment, didn't we? So we had to go down to the beach in the morning and we had to just do stupid swimming. But I was a little bit late that morning because I was getting ready. And all the lads were waiting. But again, I walked down and I've got my Lilo underneath my arm. And I can see Taff's face because I've got this bloody Lilo. But I'm thinking, I'm not walking back up 7 flights of stairs again to get me Lilo when we finish swimming. I'm bringing it with me. And I just remember the faces then as well. And that was also the time where John Worthington was swimming. He's only a little fella, you know what I mean? He's not great at swimming. And he's going backwards and forwards, his little arm, breathing really heavy. And we filled his water bottle up with seawater. We poured his Lucozade bottle out and we filled it with seawater. Oh, it was brilliant. He got out. He's an angry little man anyway, when he's training and playing. And he took this massive big swig of this seawater. Oh, it just went everywhere. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, Stu, I cannot believe you're bringing that up, Stuart. This is 25 years ago. And firstly, before I answer that, I'm glad you mentioned your goal. You scored at Wembley. I've had 25 years of you stealing my thunder. I'd scored at Wembley, 44th minute of the game. There was 60,000 people there. I'm there celebrating the atmosphere, trying to take in the atmosphere. 57 seconds later, you go up this other end of the pitch, score your goal, go off at half time, and everything's Marcus Stewart-like, and my goal's completely forgotten. So I had 57 seconds where you had 45 minutes to enjoy yours. Next question from Andy. For Hef again. Which was your best goal? The one against Villa or the one against Leeds?
Villa for sure.
The one against Villa? It was hardly a goal. Oh, was it?
That was a
goal against Villa. Come on, lads.
Typical Hef goal.
It was like a banger 30 yards out. I was like even warming up with Dino, and was like thinking, oh, come, Dino. Oh, it's so nice. Aston Villa Park, you know, the pitch. We zipped some balls on the warming up, and in the halftime, I was like, Dino, when I come in, we make a celebration together. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever, you German. You know, you stupid German, whatever. I was like, yeah, okay. I come in. And I totally forgot it then. When the ball hit my backside and it went smooth in, I totally forgot about Dino. Felt a little bit sorry for him.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dino.
You ran off doing your claws, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was too busy doing interviews and stuff afterwards, wasn't he?
Little bit celebration, but I think the Leeds goal with the whole impact, you know, against this this little club Leeds to score there, it was an easy tap in, and the only club in Yorkshire is like Huddersfield, but everybody knows this here in this chat, you know. So this was like a brilliant moment.
I taken a penalty against El Habsi before. I kind of went down the middle, and I just thought, look, let's just change it up again. And the surprising thing is, I took the penalty. I just took it with confidence. I stuck to my gut feeling. I went the opposite way to the last penalty I took, and he just stood there, stayed down the middle, kind of guessing I might go there. And seeing it go in was, a great feeling, knowing that. Looking back, I do agree with you. I do think that was a very pressurized moment. It was probably the turning point. But it was weird. I didn't feel no pressure in either of the penalty shootouts. I felt pressure in penalties before, but in those stages, I found a way to just be zoned in whilst taking the penalty. I stayed relatively confident, stuck to what I said I would do. And I executed it, but my memory of it all was just very quiet, just in the zone. Kind of blocked out everything. I didn't let the occasion get the best of me, because that can very well happen.
Shindy's got a very dry sense of humor. I think I've grown to love it over the last 8 weeks. At the start, I thought, what is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, Germans can't be funny, but actually, I have a sense of humor.
Yeah, I just fell off my chat.
Thought you caught a fish then. I thought you caught something there, Dwayne. Harry, who's
Absolutely
the best trainer then?
The best trainer?
Yeah.
Hoggy, the general.
Yeah.
Because if he's on it, everybody's on it, and he's on it every single day. He's relentless. And if you give one bad pass, he's not afraid to... Yeah, he's not afraid to let you know. I'm not going to say anything on it. It's probably a bit too much. But yeah, he's not afraid to let anybody know. So, no, he's good. He's definitely there for raising standards and doing that. So I'd probably say Hoggy.
Talk us through your penalty. Probably the worst penalty I've ever seen on Wembley Stadium.
I can't remember that, Boothy. I don't know what you're talking about. I really don't.
I'm not letting you get away with that.
You know what? I used to take free kicks. I used to take penalties. Everything. I used to take everything. From that day forward, I never took another penalty. Never took another one. And I was so confident before it as well. And when I hit it, I just thought, my God, the goalkeeper had to run out to collect it. It was that it ran up that slow to him. I was like, oh, my God, what have I just done? In front of what was it, about 20,000 there or something?
No, 60. There was 60,000.
Yeah. Right. Wow. That makes it even more embarrassing then.
Well, what I can remember is with there, Graham Mitchell's missed, Pat Scully scored, Starby had missed. So Tom, you've come up and we're thinking you've got to score. For us to stay in the game, you've got to score. So we're on halfway line, and you've checked it, and you were right. It didn't reach the goalie, did it? It
was awful.
So we're on halfway line, thinking, what do we do? Do we laugh or cry here because we're bad at penalty? And it'd look bad if we started laughing when we've got the final. But that's how bad it was, wasn't it?
Well, that was why normally I'd have been dead confident all the way up to that, and I never took one after that. Even the semi-final, wasn't it? When we played Brentford in the semi-final of the playoffs a year after. He asked me, Neil said, you fancy a penalty? And I went, nope, not me, no. If it comes down to the goalkeepers, let them go before me, and then I'll go.
Well, do you know what? I think it was number 7, or might I was trying to be number 9 or number 8, because I think I'd missed one not long before. I remember speaking to Jordan, and Jordan wasn't confident either. I think me and Jordan was 6 and 7, or 7 and 8, whatever it was. Because I'd normally take penalties. I took a few from Huddersfield. So the game was the worst game ever. It was the worst game I've ever been involved in. 0-0. There was never going to. We still be playing now. It still wouldn't have been a goal. And once he picked the penalty take, because if you've had Alan Leon, I think they'd sound probably a bit better. I was still a bit I think the celebrations has knocked me memory a little bit. But he said, I think when we got in the group, I think he just, I don't know if the manager picked it or the three older lads said, let the experienced lads go first. And I was thinking, fine by me, because my arse had gone. My bottle had gone. So Alan Lee, Tommy Miller, Damien Johnson, 3 of them missed, and I'm just on the halfway line. I was half thinking it's done, so I don't have to take a penalty. So next thing they miss one. Yeah, and I'd just like to say, once you've got Alex Smithies in goal with his record, by the way, he was a top keeper, one of the best keepers I've played with. You know, you're always at the chance once one missed, and then next thing you know, you're back in it, and I'm thinking, I've got to take a penalty here. So I've never been so nervous in my whole life. Never been as nervous as it. And once it come up, I just to see it at the back of the net, and then it was right by our fans as well, which was unbelievable. That feeling when Simerson went over the bar. You don't beat them feelings in football, especially when the ground's full, your family's there, right in front of our fans, and you see how much it meant to the likes of Dean and Brookie and them type of people who it means a lot to the club. It's one of the best days it's one of the best days of my life, never mind my career.
What did you say? Obviously, Cheltenham away, last game of the season, all we had to do were do whatever Torquay did or win the game, and we're automatic promotion. Everything were going well. We were 1-0 up, 20 minutes to go. Pav gets the ball. You're stood in the dugout. What are you thinking when Pavel Abbott gets that ball and starts going towards his own goal?
I should have mentioned this. We talked about the Crystal Palace game, really, about bringing the team back together. And after the defeat at Barnes of the Crystal, this should have been mentioned as well, because after that game, we'd done incredibly well as a group of players, the young group of players that we had. We goes to Cheltenham, and we're playing well. We goes to Cheltenham. We had nothing to play for whatsoever. We goes down to Cheltenham. I think Sodji was sat next to me and he was suspended. So I can't remember the other team who had to get a result. Can't remember which one. Anyway, so he sat next to me, 1-0 up. Pavel Abbott picks that ball up, plays it back, bang. It's I think we're about 15 minutes to go, something like that. Then Sodji kept whispering me that the other team had scored. We need to get a win. So that got me nerves as well. But then the whistle went. I thought we'd drawn, and a message came through that the other team had won, and obviously they're going up. We're going to the playoffs. I mean, it'd been fantastic to go up that day, but I think we did it the right way. If you can go up in the playoffs, it's so exciting. I know you can get beaten in the playoffs, but it's so exciting. And that game against the 2 games against Lincoln, and then we go to Cardiff, but. Yeah, I just remember that after that game, Taff went on the pitch. All the players were on the pitch, were on their knees. And I went in the dressing room and I'm thinking to myself, what do I say here now? What do I say? So I'm thinking, because I automatically thought we'd win this game. I always thought we'd win games. But that game in particular, I thought we'd do it. And I went in that dressing room that day, and I always remember by myself. And I'm just looking around thinking, what do I do now? And the one thing I said to myself, I cannot be down, because we're still in with a chance. Whoever we play in the semis, we'll beat them and we'll go on to the final. So I had to be really positive. I couldn't be doom and gloom in front of the players. So I just like praising players. We've done incredibly well to get where we are. We've worked for 46 games to get to this position. We didn't push ourselves over the line, but we have to react in the semi-final playoffs. Because we didn't like playing Lincoln Blue. That's the team we didn't want to play, if you remember. Yeah, they were a strong side of Lincoln, probably one of the best sides in that division. Big, physical, strong, well organised, and probably the team I didn't want to play. I'd rather play them when they won off at Cardiff, but we drew them in this semi-final. So really tough game, but probably that week as well with the banter that we had and the response, because everybody were down. It was like the club got deflated. I had to keep this positive roar around me, thinking that we'd go into the playoffs positive, and that's what we did, and went on to winning a really tight game against Mansfield. But we thoroughly deserved to go up that year, no doubt.
What are your memories of Birmingham away at the turn of the millennium? You were sent off and scored an own
Birmingham
goal.
away.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell us
Right.
about it.
So what's happened, right? So Paul Devlin, right, is inside the box, and I tackle him, and he goes down for a penalty, right? So I'm not happy. So we've gone in head to head now, right? So we've both gone in head to head. Ball's gone away, and all of a sudden, the ball just got popped over my head, right? So I'm running back towards my goal, and I've tried to clear it, right, for a corner. So as I'm trying to clear it, running towards my goal, Franny's coming out of his goal, but hasn't shouted keepers. So I haven't heard it. So I've got to clear. It's come off the outside of my foot, gone in the net, right? So obviously, 30 seconds before this, me and Devlin have had this coming together. So I scored an own goal. He comes running straight at me in my face. Yes, giving it that. So obviously, I've just grabbed his face, pushed him away, right? Then, do you remember Big Kevin Francis? 6'7", the big striker. He comes running in. What can I do to him? I can't. So I think I just pushed him in the stomach. So I pushed him. He come in, and there's a bit of a coming together with players and what have you. And next minute, red card, off you go. So I scored a goal. Last minute, we was 0-0, so we lost 1-0. Scored an own goal and got sent off in the same minute. I don't think as many players have done that.
But I want to go back to Carlisle, Bully. Carlisle semi-final. We were 4-1 up in the first leg, and we were cruising. And then we went up to Carlisle, and it all went wrong, didn't it? We had a 3-goal deficit. We were 2-0 down after 10 minutes, didn't we?
He had a kid of the world, didn't he?
Did, absolutely. And I can remember we were about 10 minutes to go, and you did an horrendous tackle, a 2-footed tackle. You broke the last.
Boothy, I did not tackle. I did not do a horrendous tackle at all. The kid had tried to do me. If you look at it, he's trying to come through me. And as he's come through me, he's elbowed me, and I've gone like a clash in the middle of the air, and he's done me. But as I've hit the floor, I've swung me, and I've booted him, and I've chucked him done him upside down. But as I've kicked him, I've realised I've gone, oh my God, I'm on a booking away from missing the final. So I'm half and half going to stand up, and then I thought, I'm on a booking, he's going to put me here. So I collapsed to the floor, squealing like a pig. Willow, get on, Willow, get on. And obviously, come on, they got the stretcher. And the referee, by this time, the referee obviously was concerned, thinking, I said, I was fainting and everything. And by the time the stretcher had come, I think the referee forgot what happened. And I was going off on the stretcher, and I was laid down, and Neil come across, and he looked at me, he goes, what have you done? I looked at him, I winked, I went, I'm all right. And I carried on into the dressing room. And that was it. And the referee didn't book me. So I would have been sent off.
Yeah. The problem was, though, Bullet, you were stretchered off. And when you got to dugout, you got off the stretcher and ran up the tunnel. When Warnock came in, he cleared out a lot of the established players. How quickly did you know you would won your way out, and obviously not in his plans? Like you both left that same season. I think you were a little bit longer, weren't you? Did you stay a few more months? But obviously Neil came in and changed it quite quickly, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I found out years later when I was chatting to Ronnie Jepson. Interestingly enough, he told me years later, and this was when I was Gillingham, when I was with him on. Look, had told him that he wanted to break up the drinking culture, which I'd not heard before, because in those days it was just a done thing that you'd go out after a game, you'd drink, the bars had alcohol. Very different to now. But that's what he was told. Either he was told that above him, or he decided to do it once he'd been there for some time. So that was interesting to know. All I'd say was that we had a great camaraderie. I'm sure we'll come on the Peterborough game, but that was built up over 18 months or 2 years of a really good squad of players. I think if you look at them all individually, really good players. But obviously, I get it. From Neil's point of view, he's going to come in and stamp his own authority on the game. He brought a lot of players who've non-league lads, of Darren Bullock and Logie, who had a lot of hunger about them. and it worked for him. Obviously, you got yourself, Boothy, in the team, and a lot of young players, so it worked for him. I can't knock it. And you know, it just meant that obviously myself and at the end and you and a bit earlier were part of that.
Yeah. I don't like to hurt your feelings, Iffy, but there was still a lot of drinking going on when.
You know what?
I think that might have just been an excuse.
I was just going to say, right? I was just going to say he wanted to get rid of the drinking culture, so he got rid of me and Iffy, and he's brought in Ronnie in. Ronnie could drink more than the whole team.
And Pat Scully from Ireland. My God, that's all. Ronnie stayed up at Castle Hill, and that's all he did, Ronnie.
I think there was a bit of a tight.
But if you want to believe that, that's
exactly.
Interesting question. This going all the way back, and you've heard about the senior players. You've heard about Jacko. What was it like for the young lads when we went into administration? Because the senior lads we'd not been paid for 8-9 months. We'd got mortgages to pay, houses, families. Well, to live really, but you three lads, I presume, were still at home. How did you see administration, and what was it like for you three? Worse?
Yeah, it was strange. It probably took the shine off a little bit in terms of positives and negatives. Positives, you know, we gave us opportunity to, you know, to break into the team. Really strange times in senior players. You know, talks of strikes and all types of things when players weren't getting paid. And I think, yeah, it was a real eye opener, and probably until you kind of look back at it, you think, wow, that was really strange times, really, because I've never saw that again in my whole career. So really unusual. I think probably one of the things that sticks out in my mind is at the time, I think the PFA came in and they started supporting with some of the salaries and some of the wages, and obviously a lot of the big hitters like you, Boothy, and who were the others, Clarke? There was a few at the time, few
Kenny Irons and
Kenny Irons,
So there were a few big hitters on big money, you know, because we read the Examiner and see how much they were on, and we're like, heck. But what happened is the younger lads actually got supported a little bit better by the PFA, and we got topped up with our wages and things to help us kind of make ends meet at the time, because we obviously were on nothing like. But the story that I remember is Nat Brown at the time. He had something in his contract that after he played 10 games, he got a bonus, and so all the first team lads not getting not picking up the salaries and saying, oh, the mortgage, can't pay a mortgage, and the next thing we see is Nat Brown got his bonus in, and next thing no one's getting paid, and Nat Brown turns up in Mercedes convertible, and everyone's like, what the hell's going on here?
We were absolute furious. Senior players, absolute furious. We all went in and just said, what is happening? We haven't been paid. And Young has got a Mercedes convert, and it was brand new. It was costing about what bonus he got. But
I think at the time, Boothy, for us young lads, for me anyway, I didn't really see that. Do you know, like, obviously now that I've got a family, I've got, you know, a house and bills to pay for, looking back now, you think, you know, what a struggle it was at the time, Steady, where you know, when we were going into those meetings, it didn't really feel like it was going to affect us massively, and we were just going in and being part of that process, really. But to now when you take a step back and actually think, you know, what was going on, you know, people and families and things like that, it was a real struggle for the lads and you know, for the team. But as a young lad, me personally, I didn't really feel that. Did you guys?
No, not at all. Not at all. The thing, it didn't make a difference at all to me if I was getting my wages or not. Like you say, but I was still living at home. You know, I could stop paying board for a couple of months. That would, you know, it wouldn't kill me. So it was, you know, we were all right. And I don't think you realise how much that sort of thing affects everybody's well-being. And I think the biggest thing for me is like, I think it was 2017 or 18 at Notts County, we went into administration. And then obviously with the years of experience and obviously age on my side, you know, you can see them firsthand what it does, not just to the playing staff, but to the office staff, to the grounds people, you know, everybody, the stewards, everybody that works at the club is literally shitting themselves, you know, thinking, where is my wage going to come from next month? And it's scary. And the players are really the ones that are looked after the most, you know, because we'll still get funding from the PFA, we still get drip fed some of the wages and stuff, but for the rest of the working and the office and the ground staff, that's it. You know, they've no idea where the next paycheck's coming from. So it does really hit home. And like the lads have touched on, we didn't have a clue. You know, as young players, then we were just thinking, well, I can remember them coming in in the suite upstairs, and I think we all got a check each, which I think it was like 1,500 quid or something, like back pay for like and obviously like I'm like 1,500 quid, like you buzzing. I'm like, yes, I'm like that, and I can see you steam coming out of your ears and that, like thinking, you know, what's this? You know, I can remember you being absolutely delighted trying to shuffle me off to Blackburn so that you could get paid.
Exactly. But I've mentioned him earlier, again, and it's a question for me, really. David Wagner, I presume you must have been one of the first ones to interview him. He's changed the club on and off the field forever. He's made an unbelievable difference, obviously. Got us into the Premier League. Did you sense something special about him then first few days?
No, I didn't sense anything special about him, Andy, although I think I gave him an unfair advantage as a person because I always give the Germans a chance because they made me so welcome when I was a young bloke and I lived over there working as a teacher before I got into broadcasting. So I wasn't very objective or professional when I first met David Wagner. I was just fascinated that he would take a job which looked like a really difficult job when he replaced Chris Powell. I thought, wow, he's ambitious, and so's Dean Hoyle, hiring him in the first place. So what he struck me as was a very interesting and very pleasant human being before we found out what his coaching abilities were, Boothy, because David Wagner is well-travelled. He's got a quite diverse personal background, if you remember. He was quite happy to talk about holidays, his daughter's career plans. One of his daughters, if you remember, has gone into broadcasting or went into broadcasting anyway while he was over here. So you can have a conversation with David Wagner about lots of things other than Huddersfield Town. I think that came across with everybody when he first arrived and endeared him to the whole of our audience, which snowballed anyway once he got out of the team and made him so good. So it was just a fascinating prospect to work with. I didn't sense anything special because there was nothing to sense as far as I was concerned about the footballing side of what you're asking about, Boothy, because nobody really knew what he was capable of. The chemistry he produced with that lot of players, a lot of whom had been told by previous employees that they were no good, was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Brilliant, thank you. And another question for you, Oggy, and I was doing a little bit of homework. You won't think I do, but I was looking through your Wikipedia bit. That's all I do. It's only Wikipedia. Yeah.
It must have been a pop-up book.
No, and you must have been interviewed, and it were your 5 favourite town matches to commentate on.
Oh yeah,
and you didn't pick any Premier League games, which I thought the Chelsea game, the last game of the season, well, second to last game, might have been there, but 3 of them were the playoff finals and semi-finals, which is obviously understandable, and the other 2 was the Barnsley game, the last game of the season where we drew 2-2.
Yes.
And obviously where the lads were just stood around. And the Birmingham game in 2001 where we got relegated.
Sorry, you were playing in that, weren't you?
I was, yeah. And I missed an absolute sitter, 5 minutes to go. Kenny Hines put a great header and I should have buried it. Would have drawn and would have stayed in. And it just made me interested. Why did them 2 games stand out in particular as good commentary?
Well, the first thing to say, Andy, is that 5's quite a stingy number because there are so many memorable ones besides the ones. And I did that usual thing where I named my 5 and went through them all in detail. And afterwards, I was kicking myself for hours thinking, why didn't I mention that other game? The answer to your question is quite simple, Boothy. It's about the emotion. that the match and the event itself generates. And my job is to try and convey that emotion. And you'll have to take it from me to be describing a live sports event with people in increasing states of emotion and ultimately tears around you was quite a powerful experience for me. And that's why I picked the Birmingham City defeat on that final day of the season, because it was quite an unlikely set of circumstances that could have taken us down in the first place. Yes, we had to lose, but for all the other teams around and above us to win at the same time, that was the only set of circumstances which could have taken us down, if I remember rightly. And you could see people listening to the transistors. You could see people listening to us and reacting to it. And you could see horror building on people's faces. Some of the kids I saw in tears are grown-ups now, and they'll probably get in touch having remembered it themselves. But the short answer to your question, Boothy, is it's the amount of emotion that I found myself in the middle of that made it such a powerful experience, and therefore one of my top 5, even though it wasn't the outcome that I wanted.
And then the Barnsley one, just how difficult was that? Because nothing would happen in the last 15 minutes.
No, but the first thing to say is Barnsley, I absolutely love our derbies against Barnsley because of how close it is to us. I feel that it's a lot closer a derby than some of the other derbies you might name in Yorkshire. So I was all pent up for it beforehand. There was so much at stake, and you could feel the afternoon increasing in its dramatic content with every goal that was scored. They scored first, we equalised, they went 2-1 up, and then that end bit where the keeper was refusing to get the game going again when he had the ball at his feet, and the two managers talking to each other, David Flitcroft and Mark Robbins. I've just never seen anything like that before. So it was impossible not to have that in my top 5.
You know what I still remember, but in a good way, is our last game against, I think it was Cardiff, when Wardy, we play for nothing, just don't get injured, don't get a red card, and Wardy get a red card, and we had to play without him in the first leg of the semis. That is always what I have in my mind when I think about that season.
Favourite memories from Huddersfield Town is when Wardy got sent off.
Yeah,
it wasn't that bad.
Love it, Luba. Love it, Luba.
That was
It wasn't that bad.
Too stupid. Just let him run and score. Nobody cares about it.
If I feel like I'm picking on you, but there's another question here.
Come on.
Keep picking on him, Boothy.
Keep picking.
And I would apprentice, and I think we mentioned about Blackpool, and it was a foggy day, but you lost your contact lens, didn't you?
Yeah. No, there's more than one occasion. Big Ewan remembers he was playing probably both times. I lost it, and the unbelievable thing is I found it, or one of the opposition players found it for me. So listen. But nowadays, everyone wears contact lenses. I'm sure they give a spare pair to the physio, and I did end up doing that. But at the time, I think I had one pair. So, stop the game. I've got to find these lenses. And the game doesn't carry on till I stop this. Can you imagine that now on Gillette Soccer Saturday? We've got a late kick-off Leeds Road. They're still looking for the contact lenses 10 minutes in. So, no, that's how it was. I lost them both times and I found them both times.
Yeah, just one of those really freakish, incredible days where it's just a really good day at the office. I think nearly everything that I hit that day kind of went in, and some days you make the run to that front post and it goes back, and sometimes you make the run to the back and it goes front. It was just almost sixth sense of just knowing where the ball was going to be at the right time. And yeah, that moment of getting on the end of his pass, 94th, 5th minute, something like that. And then, seeing the ball go in the net. Because I never scored against my dad's team before. I think maybe twice, 3 times played them beforehand and not really come close to scoring. So for it to happen all on the day and to be 4-0 was almost a perfect family scenario.
And what did your dad say afterwards then? Did he congratulate you? Surely he must have been happy for you.
Oh, he was ecstatic. He's sitting on his hands, to be honest, in the Sheffield Wednesday dugout. So No, yeah, it was probably the best outcome for him personally, and for my mum as well, sat in the director's box with Gary Megson's wife and Neil Thompson's wife at the side of her. So yeah, I think in my mum and dad's in their eyes, it was probably the best outcome.
In the Broman Stakes, Toffs and Lewis is well documented. Do Chris and Dwayne have anyone special? Dwayne, have you got who's your best friend at the club, like Toffs and Lewis, if you've got a friend?
Toffs and Shindy. What?
Sorry, Lewis.
Oh, Lewis will not be happy about that.
Nah. To be fair, he's trying to keep us apart. He's been trying to keep us apart.
He has.
Shindy, Lewis is on his way to your house right now after saying that. He's in the car right now.
Yeah. He's here though. Hey, Dwayne, he's here.
Is he? Hello.
I turned up to the ground at about 9:30, I think it was, in the morning, and we went in and met Lee Clarke. He came and met us, and then obviously Dean Oil and Terry McDermott as well. So we went for a little walk around the stadium. They showed me the stadium. They said, "Oh, Dean, I'll come and meet you in the boardroom." And I forget who else was in there. So we sat down in the boardroom, and it was, "Do you want a coffee? Do you want anything, any drinks?" and that. And we was talking and talking and talking. Obviously, my agent was talking, and he kept going back and forth. And I said, "Oh," it was about 2 hours later. I went, "I need a toilet. Where's the toilet?" Like to Lee Clarke. He was like, "Why? What are you doing?" So I just need to go to the toilet. He was like, "Yeah, I'll take you." So we went down in his office, and we went in the one in his office, and then my agent stayed in the boardroom with Dean, and me, Terry Mack, and Lee Clarke. We ended up staying in his office for about 3 hours, and he wouldn't let me out then. And we sat in there for ages. I was trying to get my phone out, check, but obviously I was only young at the time, so I was like just checking slyly, like, you know, like you do in school, just down underneath the table. But I had no signal the whole time. I had no signal, so like I think my mum and dad were obviously trying to get hold of me to see like what was going on and how it had been going on. So, and I think I left the stadium at about 7 o'clock, and as I walked down the steps and out the reception and across the road into the car park, my phone just blew up with all these messages. But I'd already signed by then. The deal was already done. It took about 10 hours. I was sat in Lee Clarke's office and in the boardroom with Terry Mack and the gaffer, Lee Clarke at the time. So yeah, I think obviously.
Who was the Cardiff manager, coach?
Hey,
who was the?
I think it was Dave Jones. I think it was Dave Jones at the time. But they'd obviously been putting bids in. Obviously, I didn't know. I was only young at the time, so I didn't really understand how it all worked. But I came out, and my agent had a load of missed calls from Cardiff. But obviously, there's no signal in the boardroom, no signal in the manager's office. So didn't really find all that out. But I was happy with how it all went anyway. And it was, like I say, I look back now, and you know, I'm glad it happened.
We flew back to Glasgow Airport, and there was a scout with one of those big, massive mobile phones, big, huge one with a big aerial sitting at the top. And he says, "I've got Terry Venables on the phone for you." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." He went, "No, honestly, I have." And I went, "Oh, go on then, I'll talk to him." Just think it was a wind-up, and it was Terry Venables. He's like, "I want you to sign at Spurs right away. I want you to come down and go straight in my first team, because I know for a fact that Brian Clough told you you're going into the reserves first." And I says, "Well, actually, he did. Yeah." I says, "But I need to make a decision now, and I don't want to go down to London." I brought up Scotland and never left Scotland, and I thought, I don't want to leave now and go down to London. So I poo-pooed him right away, and then went back to work. I was working for Clydesdale Tube Works for British Steel, and we were just working one day, and one of the lads come up and said, "It's been on the radio, Clyde, that you have to phone your mum." And I was like, "What?" "No, that is a proper wind up. I'm not phoning my mum." He went, "No, honestly, you have to phone your mum. It's something to do with Rangers Football Club." And I was like, "No, this is proper wind up." But anyway, I ended up phoning my mum, and she was like, "Yeah, it's Walter Smith had phoned up, and they want to meet you. Him and Graham Tunis want to meet up with you. They want to sign you." So I think once that once Rangers had come in, it was done and dusted. Because
Warnick making us drink and force us them egg and sherry. Imagine a football team doing that. But it was all about team bonding, wasn't it? And that's what they were about. People who don't know about the egg and sherry, Dunny Bully.
He knew what he was doing, didn't he? Yeah, on a Friday lunchtime after training, he'd have you in, and you all knew what you were going into the boardroom, and he'd have his. I remember the first time we saw it, it was like, "What's he doing here?
What's he doing here?" Yeah,
and he'd crack his egg, pour it into your sherry, and then he'd have 12, 15 of these conceptions. Not even a drink, really, is it? And we're all expected to go down, and not just you want a sip, was it? It was down in
it
one.
had to be next, didn't it? And if you spilt any of it, you had to do another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you remember as well? We used to have to vote, and everybody used to put their hands up for Seebs because of his face all the time.
He hated it, didn't he? Poor lad, he hated it, didn't he? And it was literally
all sorts of things. Unnatural things.
It was half a glass of sherry, wasn't it? With a raw.
Yeah.
And as you say, whoever got the worst got two. So don't you? Seebs were going home, driving home with a pint of sherry inside him on a Friday before we played.
I just had to drive back to York on half a sherry and a glass of sherry.
But it was team bonding, wasn't it? This is what he did. He was a great coach, but as a man manager, and
he was brilliant.
And what's it like? Sort of stood on the bench, like as players, we can affect the game, but it comes to penalties, there's 5 penalties waiting for you between promotion or staying in bottom league again. It must be terrible just there on the bench.
It was awful. I mean, you look back at it, it turned out really well for us, but we practiced, haven't we? I can't remember, we were at a hotel down Cardiff somewhere, and we practiced for about 4 days before that. And I knew my penalty takers, and they didn't even practice, did they? I don't think Mansfield practiced the penalties, but we practiced our penalties. And I felt every penalty, 20 Cars, Robbie Edwards, Lee Fowler, Danny Schofield. You couldn't ask 4 better players to take penalties than them. So I knew thankfully I didn't pick you, Bull, there. Your penalties are not the best, are they?
No. Well, you'll have been worried even more because I was still on halfway line, and 5th penalty taker was Steve Yates. Because he'd not missed a penalty for weeks in training. Yeah. You were telling me, I can't take it, Movie. I can't take it. My knees have gone. My legs are shaking. So if it had got to 5th one, Yates, he'd have missed it. And then I'm looking round. There's Anthony Lloyd, Andy Holsworth, John McAleski. So I would have had to take the 6th penalty. So if it got to 5th penalty with Yates, we'd have lost probably, because I wouldn't have scored mine either.
Because I also remember that celebration after, Bully, because you came with me to pick the trophy up, because Sodgy would have picked the trophy, but obviously Sodgy were in infirmary, wherever he was, in hospital. And you remember what he said to each other? We whispered to each other, we went, we'll lift it on 1, 2, 3. So I shouted 1, 2, 3, we'll lift it trophy together. Honestly, that was so magical, that Bully. I look at that picture, I know there's a picture that you've sent me about being on this tonight, about that picture. It just brings so many magical memories. And you can see that on the players' faces as well, the joy and delight of them young players. And I look at that now and I think, wow, that was an incredible feat. But incredible people, them young kids as well, and the senior ones as well. We had a real spirit that would take some beating.
The biggest moaner. There's always somebody in the dressing rooms. I think I would that as well. I think I'd have to hold my hand up for that. Who's the biggest moaner in the dressing rooms?
Tough one. I think DUANE. You're mourning a lot, to be fair, we've got loads of meetings, and I'm at the moment, I'm not taking part, I'm not joining in, but like every time there's a meeting that's coming out, I can hear DUANE moaning about what was spoken, or only the fact that there's a meeting. So
I think, in my defence, I think it's more of the fact that the timings of the meetings is what gets to me.
See, it's the timings now.
It's the time. Yeah, it's the timings.
Always someone else's fault.
Oh, here we go.
Imagine DUANE and Wardy together. This is a nightmare. They're the 2 biggest moaners at the football club.
But to be fair, I knew Dwayne when he was as an apprentice and a first year, second year pro. And he was in Mourne then. He wouldn't do anything to help. I'm surprised we got him on the call tonight. He's obviously changed, but you've asked him when he was first year pro, he wanted to come on like so. I can understand where you've got that from as the biggest mourner. I've got one, Ewan, and you might not remember this, but obviously I would have just a junior then. I was in the youth team, and I would always 2 goals ahead of you all season. And I can remember George.
Yeah, I can.
Always coming down, and George would be saying, "Oh, Boothy scored again at weekend." You went, "Yeah, you might be division's top goal scorer, but you're not Huddersfield Town's top goal scorer." And after that, you like really after every match we play on a Saturday morning, and you come and find me if we were playing at home. Did you score, Boothy? Did you score? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And I think that made you more determined. And in the end,
mate, honestly, Boothy, that was more pressure trying to beat you that season that I've ever had in my career in 20 years of playing. Because obviously, me and Iffy, you take notice and you keep an eye on young lads coming through the system, and we knew you were a local lad. And we knew that you were a similar type of player to ourselves, and it was great, mate. It was good, friendly fun, but competitive as well. And I think sometimes you need something like that, maybe just to drive you, give you that little bit more of an edge. But it was good fun, mate. It was good fun. And how many did you get that season?
I got 32, and obviously you just. Yeah, but you played 60 games. You played 61 games.
Mate, 61 games.
Oh, where they go?
I was looking today. 61 games.
So I think I only played about 40 or 50. So I remember that. Then that's what it was. It was brilliant, wasn't it?
Hey, I tell you what, Boothy, I wish I'd scored as many goals for Town as you have, pal. I really do. I really. That is some achievement, I tell you.
Obviously, I wasn't part of the playing squad, so I managed to have a few drinks, obviously, with Jacko and Terry. Obviously, no chance of keeping up with either of them. But yeah, so and he says, "Yeah, come down to the final." So I was like, "Oh, yeah, brilliant, yeah." And he's like, "Well, coach is leaving at this time." And I said, "Hang on a minute, I can't go on team coach." And he's like, "Oh no, you'll be all right. Come down, stay in the hotel with us tonight, and then you can sit out the dugout with me." And I was like, "I can't. I've got to draw the line somewhere. I can't sit on the bench as well." So he's like, "All right then. Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'll come down on day. I'll come to the hotel and see you in the morning." So I came. I think it was just after you'd done your pre-match or something. I came to the hotel, and then obviously walked around with my family and walked to the game and sat just behind the dugout. So then obviously, when the penalty goes in and Lee scores that last penalty, I'm just straight on, barging security guards out of the way, straight onto the pitch, and tearing across the pitch with everybody else. The only downside to it all was, for some reason, I must have thought I were a bit big time. I was wearing some horrible Timberland boots and some jeans. I had like yellow Von Dutch sprayed across the front of them, and I looked like a right. So I was a bit good because all the photos that I've got now, lads still stick it in group chats that we've got and stuff, saying like, "What on earth were you wearing?" Baggy jeans were good back then, wasn't it?
They were in.
Yeah, baggy jeans were all about the flares and all that stuff. So yeah, that's the only downside, because I've got a photo of it. I think there's me wearing my horrible gear. I think I was kissing Lloydie's head or something on one of the photos. It's a great photo, but yeah, I've ruined it with my get-up.
What was going through both your minds when the final whistle blew at Chelsea and we stayed up? Well, during that game, what an emotional game that must have been for both of you.
Yeah. It was fantastic, just the way they played, and you saw Di Proctor absolutely bully Willie Caballero. You could see as Di Proctor was going towards the goal. I don't like to say this as a goalkeeper's union, but Willie Caballero just absolutely cracked himself. You could see he thought, "I'm not getting hit by this fella," and he sort of went a little bit in with it. Ball comes loose, back of the net, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it was fantastic. And obviously, fans were there, left-hand side. I think there was a few more Huddersfield Town fans in there than probably should have been in there in different areas, but everyone was just diving around there. I remember after the game, it was a bit like playing, Boothy, when been to a big event, a big game, and it's finished, and you get that, and you're knackered, you're exhausted. We went for a beer just down the road from the ground because we stayed in a hotel down the road. And exhausted. You know what I mean? It's like, bloody hell, it was so enthralling the game and just all the emotions that came with it. It was just unbelievable because it was a long day, it was a hot day as well. And to see him do that to Chelsea as he went round him, because it was like in slow-mo, because you had that time to go round and thinking he's going to do it, bang, back of the net. And yeah, it was just a really good evening.
Okay, have you got anything to add to that? Or
well, only briefly, insofar as I've described before tonight, guys. You know, when there's something common about what we're doing at the big games that we all remember, and that is we're very conscious while we're on air of how much it means to so many people back home. So if it's an away game that we're describing, you can sense how much it means to our families, neighbours, the whole town, because it's a town that supports its own club. And to be slightly self-indulgent about it, I just knew that everybody was so looking forward to going through it all again and having all these big name players at Leeds Road, at our stadium, at least once next season. It was quite a moment. It felt like a privilege that was coming again, a repeat season.
Yeah. And I think that was one of my highlights in football. We were on pedal for pounds. We were in France and Dean was obviously he'd gone to Chelsea, so he joined us later on the bike ride. So Dean got us a code to watch it. So there was all the cyclists, 180 of us, in a youth hostel, watching on a bed sheet. And there's Janet sat next to me, and my God, I've never seen emotions that poor thing she had to go through. And didn't realise, but it was about 6 minutes behind the live game, and some of the lads had it on the phones and that, and they're all cheering, and when final whistle gone, but the whistle had 6 minutes to go, and Janet wouldn't believe anybody that we'd stayed up, and the emotions that night. And you remember, it was a fantastic night for everybody, wasn't it? But to be in France and the emotions for everybody, it was absolutely brilliant.
It's not doing me any good talking about these Premier League events, Boothy. You've got to move on. Change the subject.
Soon again, okay. They'll soon come back. I promise you.
So we got beat 1-0. Dean got sent off late on in the game, 90, 92, 93. Game was done. We get beat 1-0, and I charge into the dressing room and start losing me rag, kicking things around. As I've kicked a water bottle or protein bottle, whatever it was, it's hit off the floor and hit Dean, or went in Dean's direction. I think Dean's obviously thought that I've aimed it at him. It wasn't a case of that. It was a case of just that we've been beat.
Yeah, you meant it. You said it outside. Dean, it was Dean's fault.
Yeah, so I kicked the ball. It goes towards Dean's place. I think it may have hit Dean. A little bit of a scuffle. And then Brookie kind of got in between us both, really, and that was it. It was nothing more. It was just probably just Brookie trying to make it into something that it wasn't really. But yeah, he stepped in with his big shovel hands, and that was that.
And what were the drive home like? Obviously, your best defence, you drive in together, and that you've just been separated. When did you apologise first, or did you not talk to each other all the way home?
We didn't speak to each other for a couple of days. And the worst thing was, I think probably at the time, Dean had lost his licence at speeding or somewhere or whatever. So I was driving him in training ground to his doorstep every day for 6-7 months, which was great. I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? It was not. I used to live near him, so you know the crack we used to have was brilliant. But after that game, I was close to calling him a taxi. We had to drive home together, and there wasn't a word spoken all the way home. An hour in the car on the way home, not a word spoken, and it went on like that for a couple of days. It went on like that for a couple of days. I can't remember. To be fair, I probably apologised.
I think you apologised to me because I'm pretty stubborn.
Yeah, I probably had to. The silence was probably killing me. I probably offered him some chocolate or something, and he probably went for it.
I'm an athlete, Smithy. Give me a protein bar or some water.
Yeah, it was really special. Obviously, as a centre forward, you know, the last thing you want is a goal drought starting off at a club. You know, it just, you know, I think at the start I was playing quite well, doing this job. And then after a while, it really affects you. It can really, you know, it's so important to be confident as a centre forward. I think the fans could probably see I was trying my best. I was working hard. The ball just wouldn't go in the net. The day at Arsenal was slightly different setup. You know, we weren't going there to, you know, we didn't have aspirations for a cup run. We knew the priority was getting up in the league. So I think I might have started on my own up front, and the really good centre forwards like Jordan were rested. And it was one of those days. Jack Hunt played his first game after coming back. So it wasn't our best team, but there was just a feeling from the start that, you know, there might be something in this for us. And we were causing them problems, obviously 1-0 down. Yeah, I managed to get my head on a corner. Jordan will say shock. Yeah, I think that I look back at the celebration, because obviously I'm showing the kids now I actually scored against Arsenal, and those emotions, that moment is just priceless. And the two centre forwards will tell you here, you know, nothing can replicate, no money can buy that feeling of scoring a goal that really counts. I remember jumping about 10 foot in the air, and it meant a lot to me, that moment, and the fans cheering my name, and I had family in the stand as well. And I remember my cousin was our first speaker. This crowd of people were chanting my name. So yeah, it was a good way to end a terrible goal drought.
In total, like, the occasion Palace was brilliant. I think from an emotional perspective, that you play your first career Premier League match, and then the way the game went, and the weather was nice, and I remember walking off the pitch and their supporters standing up to us and applauding us, which yeah, was a very nice moment. And the other one, I think, was last year, securing
West Brom,
avoiding the relegation. The game against West Brom was up there as well, because yeah, it's, for me, it's equally important, you know, because it was a very, very tough period, a very, very tough time. And I mean, it's for the supporters, but I can tell you it's for the players as well. And yeah, I'm very glad that we made it. That it's a big achievement, and believe me or not, but it's a big achievement. And
definitely, yeah,
it's up there.
I remember one of my first sessions, Boothy, and I think we were doing 5-a-side, and I kept wrapping it into your feet, and it kept bouncing off you. He was like, Pilks, I know you've not been here long, pal, but if I can give you any advice, even if it's a 5-yard pass, do me a favour and just chip it to me head. Then I'll just set you. He said, anywhere around my feet, he said, don't bother, just chip it up to me head.
That's all I used to say about it.
Playing 1-2s off your head. Round the corner.
I played, that was 20 years career I had made out of that. Don't start on my last sentence.
Alan Lee was like that, you know. Big Al was like that. You dare pass it to my feet and I'll come for you, he used to say.
Yeah, but I'm just going to go back to what, obviously, you both said your debuts, and you tell when you're talking just how much passion you both got for playing for Huddersfield, and you both love the club. But the one that we're talking, I heard him do an interview about 6-7 weeks ago, and they were saying about signing you, and he'd heard there was a lad from Nuneaton pulling up a lot of trees, tackling anything that went, an absolute perfect Warnock player. So he went down and watched you. He paid to get in. I don't know if you know this. He paid to get in. Went on, him and Mick Jones went and sit on the stands, stand up in the terrace, and they watched you for 8 minutes, and then he walked out. And he said, I've seen enough. I'd rather have that player on my side than against me. And
I can remember Boothy, what it was is a couple of months before, I've been playing really well for Nuneaton. A few clubs have been watching me, QPR, West Brom, and all that. But I was 23, couple of 20, and people then wouldn't want to take a chance on you. And I heard that Neil, obviously, and Kevin Blackwell have been down watching, and Mick Jones a few times, and we was playing at West Midland Police on a Tuesday night. It was hammering down a rain. It was a horrible night, and it was a semi-final of the Birmingham Senior Cup. And the manager at the time when Nuneaton was a man called John Barton, played for Everton, right back, and played for Everton. He was a good player. And Neil come down, and I can remember him getting out. He had this big long coat out. Him and Mick Jones obviously walked around the side of the pitch and went down right in the far corner. And I'd done a tackle, an header. I put this lad straight through. He went through the stand and went through the next stand, the other side as well. And because I said to the referee, I couldn't stop because the ground was boggy and everything. Obviously, in front of a few others, and then Mick Jones went after about 8 or 9 minutes, and for 82 minutes, it was the worst game I ever played football because I thought I'd blown it. And
I thought you were going to say you were sent off in the 10th minute.
No. And that was the truth. And I went home and I didn't speak to Sarah, married to Sarah, the ex-wife at the time. I didn't speak to her for a couple of days, and then I had a phone call, and the rest is history.
We played Blackpool in the
cup.
And I think it had been called off for snow or something.
For fog.
Yeah, for fog. Yeah. That was it. And no, fog was the other one. I think you were. I think it might probably know what fog. So I think the job had been made, and
that's right.
Spurs. So there'd be Gaza, Waddle, Lineker, and all we had to do was beat Blackpool, who were a division below us, and lost 2-0, didn't we, on the night?
And do you know what? I think fatally for us, you knew the prize before you played the game, and we knew it was a massive. And I think it was at home as well, Booth. If am I right? It was Spurs.
Blackpool at home. Yeah, Spurs.
No, but
yes.
Spurs at home at Leeds Road, and we knew it'd be a sellout crowd. And you mentioned some of the stars, and that added pressure to it. But maybe we thought, it's only Blackpool. All we've got to do is turn up. And as you know, you can't go into a game in that mindset. And as you mentioned, we got beat.
When he missed that one, I knew that I was next. That was the problem. So when
you're not a penalty taker, are you?
No, Whitey. I don't take many penalties, but I was next. It was either me. I think Hoggy was probably on the list, and I think there was another one on there as well. I can't remember who it was. So I was next on the list, and when Payne missed, and I seen Forestieri stepping up, I'm thinking he's scoring here. And if he scores, obviously I'm up next. So the relief when he missed, I don't even think I was thinking we've got to Wembley. I'm thinking, thank God I've not had to take a penalty.
That's what you're thinking. I was exactly the same in playoff final. I was sitting down at Cardiff, and you're just thinking, please miss, don't you? You just want to take it.
Yeah, well, thankfully. To be fair, I'd have probably scored, wouldn't I, Whitey? I'd have probably put it in.
Yeah, to be fair, I celebrated like I scored NAHKI that night.
It was a great celebration. This sprint on the end. Ooh, wow.
Yeah, my legs were gone after
that. The penalties. Sheffield United 0, Huddersfield Town 0. Not the greatest of games. Goes to penalties. We've missed the first 2 penalties. You step up, and you must think, I've got to score. If we're going to have any chance, you've got to score. Talk about what were going through your mind walking up from the halfway line.
Well, first of all, NAHKI, when you say sometimes you hit a bad penalty and you score? Well, I hit a dreadful penalty and it got saved, believe me. It was, listen, I was fully conscious of what that moment meant for the fans, the owner, the players. There'd been big investment to bring us all there, and there'd been so much work, the heartache of the year before. If I was younger, I mightn't have been as conscious about that, but I was totally conscious of what it meant. in the weeks beforehand, I'd done my knee in a game against Leyton Orient away, and my knee was the size of a balloon. I was taking all sorts of pills, and I shouldn't have been playing. But we needed a target man, and there was no way I was pulling out. So I kind of cut down in training, and I remember taking penalties a couple of days before, and I thought, for the first time ever, I do not fancy taking a penalty. I just do not fancy it. And I never had that feeling. And I just had this dread that it was going to come. And sure enough, it came. It was a horrible day, absolute horrible day. Playoffs, there's just so much riding on them. No one enjoys it until you've won. But then I saw Tommy miss and Damien miss, and some sort of mad psychology. I said, I've never seen 3 misses in a row. So I just have to hit the target. I just have to hit the target here. Hit an awful penalty, got saved. And because they'd scored their first 2, I'm walking back to there, and I'm in my head, I'm going, tomorrow morning, I'm retiring. I'm quitting. I'm not going to take any more money from this club. I've let everyone, it feels so personal, because there's no way we're coming back from that. There's no way that, you could foresee what happened. So it was, listen, the boys got me out of a massive hole there. Probably made it all the more special, the day and the celebrations afterwards. But I threw them all a good party the next day. You better believe it.
Can I ask you, Vic? Because this, obviously, in the playoff semi-final, you played in the first leg, scored down at Lincoln, played in the second leg, and then in the final, we've all looked at the team sheet and look. Obviously, we knew who the first 11 were, but you look at the team sheet and you weren't even on the bench. Like, how did that make you feel?
I was absolutely gutted at the time, honestly, because I thought that would be my last game ever, and obviously it turned out the playoff semi-final was. So I kind of, and me and Jacko, it's been well said, we kind of fell out a little bit. We didn't talk for a while after it, because I probably invested it, as you do. You think it's your last game, you invest a lot into it emotionally. You think, right, it's my last game. I'm gonna be on the bench at least. I'll get on. You start picturing the game the night before, come off the bench and I'll score, I don't know, a winning penalty or the last minute winner, and off you walk into the sunset. And it doesn't quite work out like that. But I kind of understand, having been a manager since then, understand what, Jacko, he had to make a decision. Not say I ever agreed with it, because I thought there was a kind of place for me, not just on sentiment, but because I might have had an effect. But it wasn't to be, yeah. And I try not to look back too much. I was gutted, actually, for those few days afterwards, and I felt a little bit detached from the celebrations, if I'm being honest. Because as footballers, you are selfish a little bit, and you want to feel like you've taken part, and it didn't feel like I'd taken part. And it's only years later when you think, actually, okay, I scored in the semi-finals, I played both legs, so you did play a part, if not the final, and you take something from that. But at the time, yeah, I was gutted, but definitely.
I signed on the Tuesday in Huddersfield, and I trained on the Wednesday, Thursday, and he put me in the squad for the Saturday, and we were away at Blackpool. I always remember. And we went to Blackpool, and we got on there, and I did not know, obviously, I didn't really know what was going on. I remember we got over to the old Blackpool ground, and I was sat there and he picked me. Obviously, the game went on and whatever. And I think we drew 1 each, and they scored late on, and they did. Blackpool. Because I think, if I remember rightly, Rodney got smashed by the big centre half. Briggs, was it?
Briggs.
Yeah. And we went in, and I thought, and it made, and I still, to this day, I think he might, I don't know, he might have been, I can't remember. And to this day, and he come in, and he went mad. He went absolutely mad at us because they equalised. And we went over there, and we got a draw, obviously. And he went crazy. All of a sudden, there was this table. It was only, remember them little square tables? It was a little square table with cups on it, with cups of drinks, either squash or what at the end. And he shouted, and all of a sudden he went, whack, and booted this he had remember he used to wear the boots and he used to always wear his track on his boot. He booted his table never moved.
Yeah.
And all you heard was ding, and I looked and I went, Pooh, and I laughed, and he never said it. And he went so ranted her name for about another minute and disappeared out the dressing room. And we didn't see him for about 3 or 4 days. And he come in towards the end of the week with a plaster on his foot. He broke his big toes. I was in bits. And I always like, can you remember that? That was the best thing. When he ranted, what he done, I swear, I can remember that. And that was my first ever game. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. Because all you heard was like a ting. And it didn't move the table. And I thought, oh, he's hurt his foot there. And he never come in, did he? That was my rant and rave with him. That was great.